come in all. Watch your step on those cables. This magic isn't very stable. We're gonna go on a trip into the rift.
This week's episode of Juked is brought to you by the Gamers Guild Scotch and All, bringing casual gamers a new view of gaming in a stress-free environment. Scotch and All you need is a D20, good friends, and of course, lots of scotch. Juked Episode 1 archived on October 29th, 2011. Hello everyone and welcome to the first episode of Juked, a show all League of Legends where some guys talk about a game that they suck at. We will introduce everyone. I am Stringo. I used to play Dota back in the days of Warcraft 3 professionally. And I am a caster for esports in Northwest Washington State, so those are my qualifications. Joining me is Zenel, but we'll just be calling him Zenel. Hello, Zenel.
Hey there.
Who's a representative for someone who actually keeps track of the LoL metagame. Keen Corpse. Hello there, Keen Corpse.
Hey.
You are our master carry, I believe that's your title, since you play our carries. And you love to let us know whenever you miss the last hit. And
yeah, pretty much.
And lastly, we have Domaga, who just yells a lot. And he is our jungler. Hello there, Domaga.
Hey, how's it going?
Hello. How is everybody today? You guys ready for episode 1 of Juked?
Yeah, let's go. Yeah.
Nerves are high.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay, well, we're gonna go straight to the news.
Live from Summoner's Rift, this is the news!
So we're gonna go straight to the Savannah, I believe that's how you say it, patch notes. So you guys, has everybody seen that video that they've shot up on the League of Legends subscriber YouTube page?
Her patch preview. No, the patch preview for her patch, yeah.
Yeah, basically they're really
preview.
focusing on Dominion, which we'll get into a bit later. Graves has begun less survivability, and we have so many problems with Graves in our team. So how important do you guys think that this is, that he has less survivability? Because I personally think his damage output's too high. I'm not worried about survivability.
Well, last time I checked the notes, they were talking about hitting his survivability a bit, but also lowering some damages, like on his buckshot. And I don't know, do you remember if he was hitting base stats this patch or not? Because they talked about that as well.
I don't remember base stats, but yeah, they're hitting the buckshot, the damage that the second and third shells can do. They're going to be hitting that a bit, I think.
Yeah, base damage is not being affected. Buckshot does less damage depending on the multiple projectiles. So if you just get hit by one, it's going to do the same amount of damage as it does today, before any patch notes. So do you think that this is going to be enough for Graves? I mean, do you think we'll still be banning him over, say, other damage dealers?
I'm not sure. I definitely think that this is the step in the right direction. I was looking at his base stats, and they didn't seem too out there, really. I was comparing him to Caitlyn, and it didn't seem that big of a difference. But I was looking at buckshot in particular, and the damage just by getting hit by 2 shells base at rank 5 is like 320 some damage or something in that range, which for an AD carry, that's really high.
I think at the moment where Graves sits is he's supposed to be a carry, but the way he's both being built and the way that his mechanics and damage are going out so fast, he's supposed to be almost played more like a AD caster, kind of like you'd play a Pantheon. But I definitely agree that maybe lowering his resistance might actually be a really good start for nerfing him a bit. Because I mean, you can almost do comparative senses between damage. I mean, he obviously has really high base damage, but I think the other factor into that and allowing him to cause that much is the survivability aspect of it. So maybe lowering him down to like the same place as maybe a Caitlyn or an Ashe or somebody of those lower health base stats and resistances will probably fix it.
I find it kind of funny. When Vayne was released, she was classified, if I remember right, as a carry assassin. And honestly, I think at the moment at least, Graves fulfills that role a lot better. He has better survivability close range, and he can do a lot more damage burst close range between his buckshot and his ultimate.
The other thing that Graves has that a lot of carries doesn't is like the survivability spells that Zeno was talking about. So like he's got a dash that's like a super steroid. It gives him a lot of attack speed. At rank 5, it gives him like 80% higher
Yeah,
attack
that's
speed.
a lot.
His auto attacks lowers the cooldown. He's got that smoke cloud.
Okay, so basically the way that Graves, at least that Riot wants him played, is they want him to get in your face, land a buckshot, and then get a bit out. So in team fights, for people who've played Graves, this can become really complicated after the survivability nerf happens. Because once you go in, you're going to have problems. You're going to really have to go in, do that initial buckshot, and then somehow get out while still dealing the damage needed.
Well, I think that this is going to do is it's going to put more pressure on the supports and the tanks to really watch him more carefully than just letting him run loose a little bit more like they have been in team fights. The other aspect of Graves that's always going to be there regardless of any nerfs so far is that he's an AoE carry. Two of his biggest spells, both his buckshot and his ultimate, are both AoE based, meaning he has a lot of spread damage, not just on a single target, but on a bunch of targets all at the same time. Which is really interesting because I don't think there's any other carry in the game that can boast that, or if they can, not equal to his level.
I find it kind of interesting that his passives, at least currently, it stacks up and he can get up to 40 armor late game. I think they're nerfing it down to like maybe 30 max, I think. But like, yeah, taking 10 away. If you compare that to Nidalee's cat form after her changes, she when they first made the changes, she was only getting 20 bonus armor and magic resist. Now she's up to 30. They'll be bringing Graves down back to that, but it's like they're giving a carry essentially more
resistance,
more defenses than a Nidalee's cat form who is supposed to be who can only be in melee.
Yeah. Yeah, that is quite strange. So I would like to know what Riot wants out of Graves. Do they want him in a fight doing AoE, or do they want him like a Caitlyn in the back of the fight, just single targeting while shooting an occasional, shooting an ultimate into the fight, much like how Caitlyn might shoot her Q into a fight?
Yeah, that seems kind of strange at the same time, though, because whether you're playing him more like an assassin or more like a carry, you would pretty much build him around the same.
Yeah, you don't have to change your build up much.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to move on to Wukong. I'm sure Damaga is going to be really excited for these changes because you have fallen in
I'm
love.
a big fan.
And he's getting a bit of a damage boost, so he can become better at top laning and to be more equal with the fighters. This literally blows my mind because you've been playing Wukong a lot, and you've been doing just fine. So what's your stance on this?
Okay, so let me get into a couple of points that are really interesting that from the outside people would not know about Wukong. So first off,
can I stop you just for half a second? I just want to go over the changes just to refresh ourselves because I can't quite remember. If I remember right, his Q is getting an increase in scaling. Is that correct?
I think it's increasing base damage, maybe a bit of a scaling as well.
One of them, I don't know Wukong. One of them is increasing damage. The other one increases his attack speed.
The attack speed would be his E then, I think, his dash.
Okay.
Yeah, his Nimbus Cloud.
He's also getting bug fixes on his clone.
Yeah,
that's
his
the only
W.
Thing
we'll get to his W.
Oh, and then the other thing I just remembered, his Q was not proccing lifesteal. It's supposed to apply lifesteal, and it wasn't doing that. That's another bug fix essentially.
Okay, they didn't mention that.
Okay, anyway, got that out of the way. Go for it, Damaga. I just wanted to remind ourselves.
Damage.
Okay, so one of the most interesting parts of his Nimbus Cloud was his dash that can hit up to 3 targets. The first target and 2 adjacent targets that people don't realize is that while in that animation, he's actually vulnerable to auto attacks. So over the last 2 weeks, I've had instances where I've both been at 5% health versus my opponent, and I've gone to Nimbus Strike, but their auto tag hit me before my animation finished and actually killed me. So this increase in Nimbus Strike's movement speed will actually allow me to tag my target first.
Cool.
Just last night, the 28th of October, I actually had an instance where it was like me and a Pantheon, and the Pantheon's like, poke, with his increased auto crit at low health from his Heartseeker strike, second half of it, and it just blew my mind. I was like, I hit it first. I should have killed him, but I didn't.
Okay.
His Q proccing additional damage is going to be so nice. I mean, it already does like a ton. At full level, it's doing 150% of your base, or I think it's 150% base of your base damage, which is why a lot of
I'm looking at it right now.
That,
Do you want me to read it real quick?
Yeah,
at
go for
max rank. It resets your auto attack. So like if you link it, if you use it directly after another auto attack, it's like auto attacking instantly twice, kind of a thing. And then it adds another 150 damage at rank 5, and then it reduces their armor by 30% for 3 seconds.
Yeah, it's a really good
Wow.
damage causer, and it nerfs them really hard. Combine that additional damage with like a Trinity Force proc, which is 150% of your base damage plus the physical damage plus the additional and the armor reduction. It does so much. And like Zenel said, I'm really happy it's now applying lifesteal, because that's one of the questions I had about it that I didn't know, was I didn't apply that.
Oh yeah, I was talking about his decoy. Apparently now I don't know much about Wukong, but apparently there was some issues where it would fidget or something.
Okay, so one of
Yeah.
the problems with Wukong's decoy, from experience, there's a couple of things. One of the bugs they didn't talk about is that at random intervals, the stealth on his decoy sometimes just stops. Like, the other night, I just popped out of stealth for no reason. I'm not sure why. Also, when you hit decoy and you're already moving, your character will like hitch forward and then move back to the previous spot you were standing, which is a bit of a giveaway. The
That was one of the
decoy's
things I
mana.
think they're mentioning fixing.
Yeah, exactly. One of his issues is that his mana on the decoy didn't change, but there's like a brief instant when you shot off your decoy that your mana would decrease. So if they had you scrolled over in the right-hand corner like the character portrait, you would see the immediate drop in mana off of that, and then they wouldn't attack your decoy.
Right, yeah. So yeah, a
Interesting.
giveaway kind of like Shaco's clone, like not showing the items or whatever, like back I don't know how long ago that was, but yeah, essentially I think
Yeah.
that's the spirit of the fixes, is just a lot of different bug fixes with those types of decoy things.
Now, like playing Monkey King for a while, decoy is like a really important part of his playstyle. It gives him mobility, allows him to gank really well. It allows you to do some really fun stuff. Like if people don't know you're coming, you run into that bush, go in top lane, and you decoy into the lane so they can't see you, and jump on them with Nimbus Cloud and your Crushing Blow into your Whirlwind ult that knocks enemies into the air, and you got them good. So anything they can do to help strengthen that ability is really key to his playstyle. And I mean, come on, who wouldn't want to drop a decoy in the middle of a lane and then have it blow up, cause damage, and then just disrupt people?
Now Olaf, his ultimate. I'm not sure. Does anybody in here really play Olaf? I think Damaga, you used to a bit.
Keen and I have both played a bit of him.
Yeah.
So
Not that
his
much,
ultimate
but a little
passively
bit.
his ultimate passively gave him armor penetration. When it was popped, it reduced a flat amount of damage. I think it was like 40 damage at topmost, and then made him
Yeah.
completely immune to CC, except for silences and blinds, I guess, which was really weird.
Yeah, I forgot about that until just recently.
But now they're reducing, for Olaf's ultimate, they're now reducing the duration of it, but in exchange, it's more like Alistair's ultimate, where it now breaks. So not only is he immune to CC, but he breaks any CC he's currently under. I'm not
Yes,
sure how
like
it's going to work
Alistar's
with stuff
ult.
like suppression. Although my question is, it going to work with suppression? So does that mean he can directly counter Alistar,
That's
kind
a
of like
good
Gangplank's
question.
fruit?
I think it does work with suppression. I think I've as Malzahar ulted in Olaf, and I can't remember how it works exactly, but I'm pretty sure he was moving. So I might have still been doing the damage, but I couldn't stop him from coming up and slapping me around.
Olaf is one of those characters that whenever an enemy team picks him, I get really worried, because I personally don't know really how to deal with him. So that is kind of strange to me, but it makes sense that his ultimate will break him out of CC. I think that that's a good change, but it's not lasting as long, which I think needed to happen anyways, because in a team fight, basically an Olaf could run in ultimate, and then he would just go straight for your carries, and there was no way of stopping him.
Well, that's kind of the point. It's what he does. But the thing
Yeah.
that I find most important about the lowered cooldown is that any Olaf player, regardless of experience or anything, could pop it and they're instantly immune. Whereas now with a lower cooldown and knowing that from the start, you have to be more careful with it. Also,
I
with the
think
ability
one
to
thing
break CC, it allows you to be more versatile with it as well.
One thing, I was reading some forum responses about this, and I think it was a Red post said that they're flattening the duration to 6 seconds at all ranks. So it's technically a buff to the first rank and then a nerf to the last rank. But what you have to keep in mind is because it didn't break CC before, you have to pop it early and potentially waste a second or two. Whereas now, yeah, sure, the duration is shorter, but you can wait until the opportune time to use it and actually like get out of CC, that's used on you. Essentially, CC has to be wasted on you, and then you can, go do your thing. Whereas like you just before it was like you ult and then okay, the CC goes somewhere else.
So that begs the question: does that make Olaf really good CC bait for initiating fights? Like if you built him tanky enough, could he
Yeah,
take that
he's
long
going to be
enough
stronger
to
for
bait
that,
out?
definitely.
That's good. I feel like his team fighting needed a bit more than just carry
His
hunters.
team fighting did need. It was just right now. It's just run in and kill a target and then take damage. From what I understand, at least.
Which is good.
Carry,
Olaf's
yeah.
passive Berserk Fury increases his attack speed by 1% of every health he's missing. So he gets like crazy,
health,
ridiculous attack speed.
I'm kind of glad that they're trying to. I mean, honestly, I've hardly seen Olaf's recently, so I'm kind of glad that they're trying to do something to, I don't know, make him a little bit more maybe accessible.
So we're gonna move on to Shaco now. Shaco's box's damage has been actually reduced, but they arm a lot faster and they have a greater range. So Keen, you've been playing a lot of Shaco and been quite successful with him. How will this change your playstyle, being able to no longer just nest your boxes in one single bush and get free kills from that? Because that's really what Riot wants to get away from. They want Shaco to become more of an assassin and be able to chase down people from ganking instead of having him wait in a bush for them to come to him.
For me, playing Shaco, I hadn't really used that stacking boxes on enemy players that much. Mostly what I'm kind of worried about is his jungling. If the damage nerf to his boxes, if it hurts his jungling, I'm gonna be sad about that. Otherwise, I don't really mind the nerf to the damage that much. But I am excited for the increased arming time and range. I think that'll be a lot more fun, make his playstyle more interesting.
They'll be more usable in combat, which I think is that'll be really cool.
Yeah, that'll be nice.
Yeah.
That was something they didn't mention was his jungling. They mentioned him in Dominion, they mentioned him ganking in Summoner's Rift, but they did not mention at all his jungling. So I guess that is something, like, we're just hoping right now. Well, of course, Riot hopefully knows what they're doing. They've shown in the past that they do. So that's going to be really interesting, because right now, a Shaco can basically get red and go straight for a gank.
Yeah.
Because of just being able to stack up those boxes and having them do so much damage. So yeah, that'd be really interesting of what they'll do to his jungle.
Yeah, I don't think had they mentioned about exactly how they're nerfing the damage. Like, I don't know if they've said if it was flat damage or scaling.
Yeah, I think they were talking specifically about AP Shaco, so I kind of wonder if they're just going to nerf the scaling so that he can't just one-shot people so easily with stacked boxes, in which case that would not affect the jungle really at all.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for.
But they could. I'm kind of curious to know, yeah, if they're gonna which they're hitting.
Okay, so I think we covered that pretty well, and this is the last and I think the biggest change. This is going to be for the Crystal Scar in Dominion. They're lowering the respawn time bonus. For if your team's losing, basically you respawn faster than the winning team, depending on how badly you're being beaten. The reasoning behind this is they don't want such a big rubber band effect, because like if people watch our videos, the one where I'm playing Pantheon, Keen Corpse is playing Shaco, Damag is playing Monkey King, and Zenel's playing Poppy, we crush them and get to about 75% of their Nexus health by 4-capping, and then we go on for another 12 minutes of fighting because they kill us and they just respawn almost instantly. So I'm really happy for this change because I don't like the rubber band effect. I know that it's supposed to be exciting for the other team to be able to try to make this comeback, but a lot of times they shouldn't be making such a big making a win out of after they've been just crushed like that. So what is your guys' view on this?
So my biggest problem with the faster respawn time is, let's compare it to Summoner's Rift really quick. In Summoner's Rift, when you win a team fight, 90% of the time it's huge. It's detrimental to the game. You can take towers, you can go for Baron, you can get a dragon, you can push your lanes, everything. A couple times when we, as a group, were playing Dominion, we would fight those guys and it'd be a bitter, tough fight. And we all end up with, like, what, 10% health for 3 of us, and they almost instantly respawn. Meaning, we killed them, but no progress was made. And if anything else, they make progress on us because we all have to recall and heal up, and then go back to our lanes.
That's pretty much, I think you hit it right on the head. That's my issue, and I'm glad that they're making this change because that's what it's focused at. I think it's just it doesn't feel like a decisive team fight, you know, where you literally have like it's like a 4-on-4 or maybe a 5-on-5, which you don't see on Dominion a whole lot, but you see it sometimes, and when you pull it off, it feels really good, and you think you can actually make some progress, but then it's like, okay, we're all low, maybe we can like do something, you know, but we're so weak we can't exactly defend if they, you know, spawn too quickly, and that's what happens. They spawn too quickly.
And then we're all at 10% health. We go up and, you know, we're winning by a huge deal. We go up and cap 1 tower, then Pantheon ults on us, Nocturne flies in, and they kill us, and then of course we have a good 20 seconds more respawn time than they did. So they're able to cap us way harder. So yeah, I'm really glad to see that change. We'll talk a little bit about this just because it's on topic. Personally, I think Crystal Scar is a fun way to learn champions for Summoner's Rift. What is your guys' view on Crystal Scar? Are we going to see some endgame, metagame competition in Crystal Scar? I personally don't think we will. I think that that the world is not ready for a new Dota-style map. I think that it'll always be a Summoner's Rift style Dota plane that we will see in tournaments and stuff. Just because it's way more balanced, you can use more champions in it, and the team play is way better than just saying, I'll go top, you go bot. Okay, so what's your guys' view on this? Do you guys think that we'll see Crystal Scar maybe in packs, or what?
I'm really afraid of seeing that, actually, because for me, Crystal Scar is more than just like another game mode. It's way more relaxed. It's really fun. It's really fluid and very crazy. But it allows you, like you said, for a lot of new champions, like when I was playing Monkey King or when Keen was playing Shaco, it taught us how to team fight and also just how to do the duel and how to deal with those one-on-one situations better, and in a realm in which you would not be able to experience in Summoner's Rift.
Well, it allows you to start learning how to be at an even matched dueling level with whatever champion you're playing, because you're guaranteed to be at around the same level of power as them, where that won't happen in Summoner's Rift nearly as often.
And it gives you a feel for the end game with that character, which you're not going to see even every Summoner's Rift game, you know, and you're going to see pretty much every Dominion game.
The biggest thing about Dominion is the games last about 20 minutes. So if you lose or win, the satisfaction or the grief involved, it's so minor. But if you lose a 50-minute Summoner's Rift match, that is crushing, especially if it's very close. And if you win a 50 to 60-minute Summoner's Rift match, it is very rewarding. And I think that Dominion can't replace that. Even if they were to make that style of game longer, it would just drag on. So that is my biggest thing, is the time investment in Summoner's Rift, and that's what's going to make people more interested in it.
Yeah,
I agree 100%.
It's definitely sort of the type of thing where you can just pick up and go, and you can fit it into a schedule a little bit more easily. I really like both types at the moment. I don't think Dominion is ready for a more competitive scene, It sounds like they're making some changes that cater more to a competitive scene, and I kind of like where they're going with it. Ultimately, I think it's really just kind of too soon to say if it's going to be picked up by any, pro players, playing at actual tournaments, that whole thing. They are going to do a ranked system, but we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah, I'm not surprised to see a rank system because I think they even have a rank system for Twisted Tree Line, which had which hasn't
I'm pretty
done
sure
so
they
well
have
lately.
the Dominion rank system. It's like all ready to implement. They just have to turn it on, but they're just not happy with where Dominion is settled quite yet.
Which is understandable. Yeah, because you can
Yeah.
come home from work or school and turn on a Dominion match and just play through the Crystal Scar before dinner, and you don't have to worry about, the time restraints. But if you're playing a Summoner's Rift match, you have to have time set aside, because you can't just get up in the middle of a Summoner's Rift match. And here's just another something that I was thinking about earlier. In matches in StarCraft 2, and I'm not sure if the other Dota games, Heroes of New Earth or in original Dota and Warcraft 3 even had this feature. There was a pause feature where if something happened, you could pause the game. If somebody disconnected, you could pause the game. Why isn't that in League of Legends?
Actually, they've implemented that on the tournament client. I don't know if they'll ever bring that to just normal online play. I kind of hope they don't, actually. But for tournament play, I think it's a very good addition. I'm really happy that they did that. I can't remember what tournament it was, but it was just a week or two ago.
I could see them not putting in 5v5 just because of, normal 5v5s, just because of trolls. People would just pause the game and, be stupid.
Yeah.
But I would love to see it in ranked play, because that's where your matches actually matter. So if we're having a 5v5, then all of a sudden somebody disconnects because, the Adobe Air client crashed, which happens all the time to us.
Yeah.
I would love to have a feature that says, okay, pause, even if it requires voting. The entire other team can vote, okay, this is stupid, you should have had this fixed.
Right.
See, I'm also kind of afraid of that, because a lot of ranked games also have a lot of ragers in my experience, like people who rage quit.
Well, I'm saying that
sword.
This is team 5v5, not solo ranked 5v5, because you're still going to run into those kind of people.
Oh, team 5v5? Oh no, yeah,
right,
I totally agree with
okay.
that.
I can see
team
that
5v5. Team 5v5, I think, is what needs it, because that is probably the top competitive plane, is Team 5v5.
Definitely. And I'm really glad Riot is pushing that more in Season 2. It sounds like they're going to make some changes to that. That's going to be really positive for the game.
Next week on Juked, I'll be absolutely going off at Riot for not having a replay client. So stay tuned for that.
So, actually, on that exact same subject, during DreamHack, I think it was in the finals, there was a disconnection error with one of their team's carries, an Ashe, who was disconnected for like 5 minutes, and she came back to her lane where her support had to protect her lane and try to farm as best she could versus a carry and a support character. And by the time Ashe came back, the opposing Vayne was like 60 or 70 creep score ahead of her, already had a BF sword, and a lot of that team's damage was riding upon that carry. And not being able to pause that game and having your carry fall so far behind because of like a simple technical issue is really big.
Especially at a tournament, because that's nobody's fault but whoever's hosting it.
There was a lot of argument on the forums especially about that. I remember that happening. And they had rules in place and everybody understood the rules. At least I think they did. I hope they did. It sucks to see that happen no matter what, though.
That you won't freak out, because it is for money, so you can get into legal issues. I've seen them happen. So.
More importantly, you'd think that if they're running on a client like a competitive server, that they would have that stuff sorted out mostly.
Ultimately, you can't trust computers. Something will always go wrong.
What?
You can't stop it.
Jeez, you go into a venue where you literally set up a bunch of computers the day before and put them in a LAN network. Yeah, problems are gonna happen, guys. Go into a school computer lab and the teacher can't even get the projector to work.
Right.
that's I've had it happen before. It's pretty sad.
Oh yeah,
you have PhD in technology, can't get projector to work. Okay, so now we're gonna go on to Sylvana. Is that how we say her name? Shyvana?
I was calling her
Shyvana?
Shyvana.
Shyvana. Okay,
I
we're
don't
gonna
know.
go into some of her mechanics. I've linked you guys in chat if you guys want to read along. So I'm just gonna read what her playstyle will be. She does so by utilizing a modified Fury resource that occurs anytime Shyvana lands an auto attack. Once her Fury is full, she can unleash it and turn into a dragon, giving her sustainable buffs, ability enhancements, and some upfront damage. While in dragon form, Shyvana's Fury is slowly consumed, though she can continue auto attacking to extend the duration of the dragon form and to maximize her damage with each use. It is also worth mentioning that Shyvana's ultimate has no cooldown, so that it can be used as long as her reserve of Fury is full. The right set of circumstances can allow a skilled player to transform much more often than they would otherwise possible. In addition, her passive triggers benefits to each of her abilities when she auto attacks. This is to make her a melee caster in many respects. She will be
differentiate her from a melee caster.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. So I see. Stay in school. Gosh. So basically, they want her to be a melee carry or a fighter, which is they're really pushing melee carries lately, especially with Graves, who was just released. So she's gonna be a bit like Swain, but melee with a bit of Tryndamere. That's basically what I'm saying.
I don't know.
Talk on this subject a little bit because I play a lot of Fury characters and I love the Fury system. So the way the Fury system works is that their auto attacks give a certain amount of Fury, and that meter increases up to 100 Fury, and then depending on what champion you're playing can do different things. Currently, League of Legends has 2 Fury-based champions. They are Renekton and Tryndamere. Renekton's Fury is a bit unique in the fact that when his health is at 30% or lower, he actually gains 50% more Fury than he normally would. And then, of course, there's Tryndamere, who gains Fury when he whacks things with his gigantic sword, which is really awesome.
Yeah, and then both of them have kind of ways to gain additional Fury. Renekton has his Q, where he, like, everything that it hits, he gains, like, extra Fury, and then Tryndamere, whenever he crits or... Oh, his ultimate, Renekton's ultimate, right, too. And then for Tryndamere, whenever he crits or kills something, he gains bonus Fury.
And then his ultimate also gives him Fury.
Tryndamere's ultimate does?
Yep. At max rank, it maxes out your Fury meter to 100 points automatically. On top of
You're right. I forgot about that. Cool.
I played Tryndamere a bit, dude. That's what's up.
I know. You played him a lot.
Okay, those of you listening to this podcast, play some jungle Tryndamere. It works. He's fantastic. Just do it. And make sure you run that exhaust, because it's really important, and make your opponents rage craziness.
Rage, when do you rage? You a Doug, or heard you like to rage?
Exactly.
No, I think the first thing to really mention about Shyvana's Fury, though, is that hers doesn't go down. I don't think it says it specifically in the mechanics preview, but I saw a red post confirming it. Her Fury does not go down when she's out of combat. It stays.
It just builds up.
That's cool.
It doesn't decay.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So only when she has popped her ultimate, it will decay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Which will be nice.
Meaning that
or when she uses
can just
moves,
enter
maybe?
team fights.
It means that in between team
maybe.
fights, she
Don't
can
know.
like in between team fights, she can build up that Fury meter so that she's ready to pop her dragon form or be like really close to it,
Yeah.
and not have to worry about the decay of her Fury, unlike the other 2 champions we mentioned.
Yeah, that was my big worry about her in team fights. If it did decay when she's not in combat, that means like she has to build up the Fury in combat in the team fight, and that could be really difficult potentially.
So I'll probably pick her up with RP because dragon.
I'm planning on it. She's a dragon, I know.
Because
Yeah, same here.
That's the main reason. So that's our general consensus, is definitely worth looking at. I want to remind our audience that this is the 29th of this archive podcast, so probably when I release this podcast, there might be a champion spotlight of her. So we'll probably get everything wrong.
One other thing I want to highlight about her though is her passive. It says Shyvana's passive triggers benefits to each of her abilities when she auto attacks. This to me sounds like Sona's passive, but in reverse. It stacks up, by her auto attacking, and then she uses an ability to, get some bonus effect. Once it has its max
I believe
stacks.
her ultimate also changes her abilities in some way as well.
So it works. I've been talking with Keen about this. It's like, okay, her passive. Well, first of all, it sounds like attack speed's going to be really good on her because it stacks her passive quicker and she generates fury quicker. And then in addition, the thing that I've been talking with Keen about is like, do the additional benefits that she gets from her passive, are those going to be the same or different than the additional benefits that she gets when she's in her dragon form? I'm really curious.
Okay, let me ask you this: do you think for these bonuses that Shyvana is stacking, do you think it's going to be like she hits it and then all of her abilities get it, or do you think it's going to be something like Riven, where she builds up stacks? Or like Tryndamere, she builds up stacks of these bonuses that are activated. So she has like a stored pool.
I think it's going to be. You're talking about her passive?
Yes.
Right? Yeah, I think it's going to be like Sona. She builds up the stacks, and then when she reaches the max stacks, it's like, okay, it's charged, and then the next ability she uses will have an additional benefit. Sona's, it's like, okay, she uses 3 abilities, she gets max stacks, and then her next auto attack, depending on the stance that she's in, has an additional benefit. That's why I was kind of saying it's Sona's, but in reverse.
Regarding her ultimate as well, as I'm curious to know if her ultimate will change her abilities further and have different effects, or if they might have the same effects of her passive, but they're just constantly all on. And then, like, you can apply your passive again, they kind of get ×2 or, like, more bonus damage of that
3
of that specific ability.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm really curious.
I would like to see if she is a bursty or just flat out damage, because they really want her to be an aggressive playstyle. They want her in getting those auto attacks in the laning phase. Yeah. What makes League of Legends so much different than other Dota games is the passive laning phase. In Dota, I don't think you guys ever played this, turrets did practically no damage. Turrets were just there to stop your minions. So diving was way, way, way more common. So, I like the passive lane styling because I'm a very boring person. So I'm kind of cringing to see an offensive, aggressive playstyle coming back in. But in a way, it's going to be more exciting to see maybe her in a support bottom lane. And just being in there and being able to stay in the middle of the lane and push the lane.
Personally, I'm hoping that she's going to find top lane as her home. I think as long as she's either tanky enough naturally or has some sort of sustain or potentially bursty enough, true, she could play really well top lane, I think. And
they want her to be a melee carry
like the yeah, you see a lot of fighters though top lane. Renekton goes top lane.
Tryndamere. Most fighters and bruisers are top lane champions.
Yeah.
Or a lot of them are junglers as well. If she was gonna be played as kind of support bot lane, I kind of doubt that she'll have support abilities, so she would probably need to have more CC and play more of an Alistar role.
Well, I just say that because generally the AD carries go down bot with
I think he's thinking more in the carry slot.
Oh, I see.
Right.
Can I say right now, if
she's
a
ranged,
jungler,
though, personally.
Go ahead, jungler. What?
Well, yeah, she says
if she's a jungler, I'm picking her up.
Yeah, actually, that's the other role that I could see her in.
Love to see her as a jungler.
Top lane or jungle. I could see her jungled potentially, depending on her kit, of course.
So yeah, we're gonna have to see her early game damage to depend where she's going to sit at.
I want Garen early lane damage from her. Like, just ridiculous amounts of damage. Be sweet.
I don't think we need another Garen.
No, we need a girl. We need a feminine Garen. Feminine Garen.
For her to jungle, I think she'll either need some inbuilt sustain or she'll need some steroids.
That's Riven. Yeah.
Riven is not a good jungler.
Yeah, no, we're not. I know she's not. Okay, so since we're getting to the subject of other champions, we're going to go into our next section, away from the news, to Champion Rundown.
Champion Rundown!
If you guys have League of Legends open, we can open up our champion list. And we're just going to take a bit of a look through, see which champions are in a good spot, which ones are in a bad spot. And I think that we all need to start off with Akali, because we've been seeing her banned a lot lately.
Oh my
even
God,
after the so-called nerf on her.
Okay,
Gunblade
Akali
nerf,
is
I
like
know.
one of the burstiest champions in the game. When she gets fed, like in a solo lane, okay, so Akali's main play, or for most Akalis anyway, is kind of like a somewhat poke champion early, but when she hits that level 6, she becomes so decimating. Like, because of her Shadow Dash, her ultimate, she can get to you, she stays on top of you, she does tons of burst damage, and if you're not careful with her, she will wreck you and then go into late game and just destroy team fights. So powerful. The other thing
She
that gives
really is the true assassin as well, with her
Yeah.
shroud, just
And
making her
she's-
really hard to take down as
Yeah,
well.
and she snowballs so incredibly hard if she has a strong early game.
and she doesn't require mana. She uses energy, and her Q,
Yes,
Mark of
free
the
harass.
Assassin, does damage, but then when she hits you, it regenerates her energy, and then does additional proc of damage from her auto attack.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, so let's talk a
Association.
bit
That's
about
bonkers.
the last patch. They actually nerfed Heztech Gunblade, hoping this would account for her and Jax's damage output. And I haven't seen that in the slightest happen, because they just build differently.
I'm really kind of unhappy with that. Maybe Hextech Gunblade did need a nerf, I'm not sure. What I think they did do is they probably nerfed it too hard, but more than that, it didn't actually touch the problem, which is mainly Akali, a little bit of Jax, but it also, more importantly, it hurt a lot of the other characters that pick up Hextech Gunblade, like Kayle, like Katarina, maybe Skarner, you know, I'm sure there's a number of others.
Yeah,
More than anything,
have
it probably
not
just needed the
seen-
unique spell vamp.
I have not seen any difference of banning from Akali and Jax. I've seen just the same amount of we're still banning Akali, we're still banning Jax, but we're not seeing Katarinas inside games. I have not seen a
Okay, so-
Katarina in a game since that.
So really
nerf,
quick,
'cause- yeah.
The big thing with Katarina is one of her biggest damage spells, her Shun Po, which is the teleport to enemy and then cause damage,
Yeah.
scales really well with attack damage. It's like 0.8 or something, maybe 1.0. But the problem is with the Gunblade, what do? They nerfed the spell vamp by like 10. They nerfed the ability power by 10 as well, maybe 15. But then they hit the attack damage by 20.
Shampoo
20
doesn't
points.
scale
Shumpo
with
is only AP
attack
scaling.
damage.
Yeah.
Oh,
Bouncing Blade has a
Bouncing
dual
Blade.
scaling.
Dancing Blade.
And her
still
ultimate has
scales.
dual as
and her
well.
ultimate.
Yeah.
But in any case, it's hitting Katarina so hard that she's not really playable anymore. I mean, you can go straight AP with her, but then you're neglecting the scaling a little bit on her Bouncing Blade and her ultimate. And now it seems like Hextech Gunblade doesn't do enough to make it viable. So it's really sad to see that champion be at a place where she was somewhat playable and then is falling completely down.
Is that Katarina, you know, can be kind of a pub stomper in low ELO. But in high ELO, she was not really seen until people started to run the Hextech Gunblade on her. And even then, it was few and far between. But now that the big Hextech Gunblade nerf, I doubt you'll see her any more than you saw her before. Only, just as a pub stomp, low ELO kind of a thing.
Now, I'm fairly big into esports and casting and all that, so I personally believe that games should balance their game around the high-ranked players, because that's what's going to get new players in, is watching these close matches from actual pros. So I really question when a game will physically nerf champions or just games due to their lower level playing. And I think Riot's really good in that they're only nerfing what's happening inside the metagame. So just this change really confuses me, that why would they do this Hextech Revolver thing, since Katarina maybe overpowered?
Not at all.
And
She was
that's why
hardly
they did
seen
it?
at high ELO.
So the
So
reason
I
why you don't
just
I
want
don't
to
think
know where
Katarina
this
was the
nerf
problem.
came from.
I know, it feels kind of
yeah.
like... I think they were more worried about Akali and Jax and decided, okay, well, they both use Hextech Gunblade, so let's hit Hextech Gunblade, and then just forgot about the other people that were using Hextech Gunblade fairly.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
the nerf was primarily pointed towards Akali and Jax, but Yeah, I don't think the gun blend was really the problem. It's just those champions themselves and how they work and their abilities.
Honestly, even Jax can snowball really hard into the late game, but I kind of don't think he's terribly overpowered. I think it's
I don't
mostly
think
just
so
Akali.
either.
Well, the thing with Akali that I would like to see them do, and that a lot of people take for granted, is that earlier thing I mentioned, the proc from the Mark of the Assassin, where she gets the extra damage and energy regeneration. What if they put that on like a cooldown timer, so you can't proc that every single time, or maybe like it has reduced damage or something? Because that's one of the things that I'm realizing about Akali is that she's got a low cooldown effect that procs damage twice, and then it gives her more energy to continue what she does. So maybe
I
hitting
think
that
she
sustain
needs
a
that
little
just
bit.
because I mean she is, an assassin and she needs that burst to be an assassin. I think her biggest issue is possibly okay, no, her biggest issue is probably her passive, honestly. She gets tons of free stats from her passive. Really
That's
strong
true.
stuff too.
Like
Her
lifesteal
then the
and
next
ability power.
the lifesteal and then the tons of extra damage on her auto attacks. After
With a Lich
that,
Bane, that's bonkers.
I think the issue is her ultimate and maybe Twilight Shroud. Her ultimate, she has 800 range for a jump. That's pretty long, and she can use it 3 times.
Very long.
Maybe more depending on if you're able to pick up, more
Kills or
Essence of
assists.
Shadow, whatever. Yeah, when she gets kills. And the cooldown is so low. She's so mobile because of her ultimate. Her Twilight Shroud probably isn't an issue. It's kind of what allows her to get in there and not just fall apart. But it's a strong way of, avoiding
I would
damage.
like to point out, even though with these nerfs and because her and Jax are so powerful, they need a solid early game or they will become useless. But they can do an early game so easily. We were playing games with an Akali on the enemy team, and Damaga, you were playing Trundle, and we could not get a gank off Akali and push her out of the lane. We could not do it. So her early game, if we could get her ganked at some point, and she's supposed to be a slippery champion, I could understand her being very hard to be ungankable, but that makes her early game really good, which will make her late game even better.
Well, one of the things that makes her so
Especially the longer
amazingly
the game-
slippery is that
Oh.
when you run Twilight Shroud and a Flash together, it makes her really hard to pin down.
Yeah. Well, even
I
just
personally
like if
believe
she's
Flash should be taken out of the game.
Or
We'll do that
even if
next
she's
week.
like
Flash.
All right. Even if she's like in front of like your minion line or whatever, way in sort of in your territory, she can use her ultimate to dash to a minion, and then get out. She's
And that's what
she's
Jax
definitely
can also
slippery.
do. Jax can also
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
bounce
that's right.
away, and he's
With
gone.
less range.
Yep.
With a lot less range and less cooldown and
So just to clarify on Akali's Shadow Dance, her ultimate, she gains one mark or essence of shadow, which is one of the resource she uses to use her jump. She gains 1 for each kill or an assist, which means in team fights, if she can put damage on most champions and people are dying, that thing is up all the time.
yeah.
Not to mention, not only is she killing targets with it, but she's actually rewarded for doing so by getting more opportunities to get out of combat through jumps, which is bonkers. And it goes down to a 1-second cooldown at max level.
And it starts only at 2. I know. She's bouncing all over the place. It's hard to kind of catch her just because she's moving so quickly all over your screen. It's just like, okay, I'm about to click on you to stun you, and then all of a sudden she's, 3 inches to your
Gone.
right on your monitor, and then you miss.
Or
Or
more.
even
Or
crazier than
whatever.
that is her sustain.
Okay,
Late
I
game
think we've
Akali's
hit
sustain is
Akali.
Yeah.
We've hit Akali well enough.
This
Right.
much to be said
Strong
about it.
guys.
I
Player, if you want to
So-
pug stomp, do it.
Yeah, there you
I
go.
endorse.
And so, Gangplank. Gangplank's the other one that we see out of every match. We always ban him. I won't say because we don't know how to deal with him. It's just that I think his ultimate, along with his fruit, just makes him also extremely hard to gank. He can be in a team fight and not actually be in a team fight. So
I
what
think part
do
of
you
it is
think-
we kind of have a vendetta against Gangplank, and it's probably
Yeah,
a little bit
we've
unfair to
always had
Gangplank, but
problems.
whatever.
Yeah, he just has that frustration
Okay,
factor for me.
so I have a meme that will solve every question about Gangplank. I ate fruit, and I'm K. That's all I have to say.
Yes, that's all it is. Malzahar
So-
ulted me, and I ate some fruit. And I'm okay.
And so really quick, the thing that makes Gangplank so frustrating for me is his ultimate, his cannon barrage. At first glance, it seems extremely minor. It's a global ult. It slows. It does 75 damage per cannonball. However, each volley is hitting 25 cannonballs. That's like 1,800 damage at level 6 spread out across an entire team, which is huge. And unlike characters like Pantheon or Twisted Fate, he never has to be in danger with it. He can fire it from anywhere, and he's completely safe. I would feel better if they lowered the range.
The amount of utility it adds at global range is pretty bonkers.
Yeah, I'm very confused to why they did such a bit. I understand the change on Twisted Fate and Pantheon. They didn't want them being all the way across the map, but Gangplank and Karthus, they're both. I think they're the only ones with a global ult other than Soraka. Why didn't they touch those two? And Shen, yes. Why didn't they touch those ones? I can understand Shen's and Soraka's because those would be pretty stupid if you had to be in range.
Because part of
Karthus is the
gameplay.
If
Karthus loses that, he is useless. We don't need him anymore in a game.
Yeah,
I agree.
And I mean, I can see Gangplank still being usable.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, I can see the argument of why they kept it global range, because, I mean, it's not an extra body in a team fight from out of nowhere. It just, still, the amount of utility at global range it provides, I think, is just a little bit too strong. Personally, I would like to see its range not global anymore, like
and the damage.
Pantheon or the damage, I think, is probably all right. It's just the fact that it's global is what pisses me off.
I more hate it in Dominion. So clearing waves, or you're capping a tower, then all of a sudden it hits you and it is off cooldown before you know.
So can I clarify something really quick that I hate about Gangplank's ult more than anything else? Okay, so you're in a team fight, right? It's 5v4. All of a sudden, there's cannonballs and stuff raining down on you, and you have two options. A, you can move out, which you're slowed, because that's what the ultimate does. Or B, you sit there and take sometimes ridiculous amounts of damage. I've been in team fights where I've been hit by like 6 or 7 consecutive cannonballs, and I lose over 50% of my health from them alone. So it creates a situation for the enemy team that's so hard. It's like you either sit there and you continue to wail on people, but you're probably going to die because all this extra damage is flying everywhere, or you retreat, stop DPSing, which means you're losing out on valuable time to cause damage to the enemy team as well. So it's like
and they're damaging you when you try to retreat, and you're retreating slowly.
Exactly. So it creates this really negative situation where there's nothing the enemy team can do about it. There's no positive outcome unless you're extremely tanky and you can just shake that off. But I don't think a lot of team comps can do that.
While we're on this subject, I would like to bring up his fruit, just for a second.
Yes.
Why does his fruit? What cooldown does his fruit have, first of all?
It starts
at 22 seconds and goes down to 18.
Yes.
Yeah, and so
giving a champion
should that break a suppression? That's my biggest question.
No.
Personally, I believe it shouldn't. Giving a champion essentially a Quicksilver Sash with such a low cooldown as a 1-point wonder is a bit too strong in my opinion.
I kind of feel like what's the point of having a suppression if something, just a normal ability, gets rid of it?
Well,
I can understand Olaf popping it, because he has a decent
his is an ultimate, though. This is a normal ability.
Exactly.
I think they should reduce the amount of CC that it nullifies.
So, okay, let's go back to his ult and look at Karthus. Karthus will just hit the champions. It does not touch any minions or anything. But I would also like to point out Karthus there is an item on the field called the Zhonya's Hourglass that is the hard counter to Karthus's ult. If you're playing an AP carry or a support or just anything AP, I always recommend you pick up an Hourglass with Karthus, because once he hits that ult after a teamfight, you can just pop it and you'll have no damage on you. And that can absolutely
Or if you're Vladimir, you just pull that stuff.
Yeah, or you pull or something. But Gangplank, there's no counter to his ultimate, is there? Can you guys think of a counter to his ultimate? You can't even...
Flash out.
Ghost.
I think you could probably Quicksilver Sash out of the slow.
Oh, but that's more resources.
Any of those kind of blink abilities to get out.
And that's about
Banish
it.
Veil as well.
But still, that is us backing out of a fight that we don't want, that we need to be in. while they're getting.
Yes.
And even maybe if he channeled it better, so we could interrupt him. So he can't just stand in the middle of the fight, do 2 clicks in the air, and then he's back in the fight.
I would like that, personally. Because, like, when you get a fed Gangplank and he fires his ult and he runs up and then he uses his Q, the parlay, and crits you for over half your health while you're taking cannonball shots and you're being slowed and stuff, it's ridiculous.
Well,
He also
I
has his
understand it
passive
being
slow.
I don't know if the channel would help a whole lot, honestly, because he usually ults before the fight, and then he raises morale and his team runs in extra quick.
So, can I go back to remove Scurvy really quick? Just
Go
like
for
2
it.
seconds. Okay, one of the things that's also underrated about remove Scurvy is not just the fact that it removes all CC, but that like minuscule amount of healing can help him. And when you get like a when you pick up some Gangplanks pick up a Trinity Force, and when you do that, it heals him for 390 hit points, which is just enough to keep him alive or keep him around in a fight.
I've saved myself with it before. Definitely.
So it's just like it's not only that removing CC, it's healing him. If it did one or the other, I'd be okay with that, as long as it doesn't affect suppressions.
Okay,
there's a reason why they're called suppressions.
We've hit Gangplank right on the head. Let's take a look at Garen and Lee Sin. Those are the 2 ones on the list. I don't see Garen being banned, but I see a lot of people complaining when he goes on the field. Do we think Garen has too much damage output and is too tanky, or do we think he's in a good spot?
I feel like he's in a good spot for me personally. I mean, his early game damage is berserk. It's bonkers, like just ridiculous amounts. His Q, his decisive strike, when it hits you at level 1, it can do like 155 damage. However, if Garen does not have an amazing game, or if he's building tanky, he's not necessarily as much of a damage threat, although he can become really resistant to damage.
Well,
the big thing that keeps Garen...
Yeah, sorry, keep going.
The thing that keeps him consistent, though, is his ultimate. The Demacian Justice, his execute, is great
That
regardless
could do
of how you
so
build
much
it.
damage.
I know.
That really feels like an execute.
It melts squishies like...
Regardless if you do super well or not, Garen always seems to really fall out damage-wise later game.
Yeah.
You really have to be really fed
with Garen, you're
a lot.
definitely betting on a strong early game.
And
I think it kind of puts him in an
partly why
interesting
so much
place
damage.
because his early game damage can be kind of ridiculous feeling sometimes, but the longer that you can draw out that game, and if you can keep him from getting too fed, the better chance you'll have. And so part of me would kind of like to see his early damage lowered and like his late game buffed a bit, but at the same time, it kind of puts him in an interesting situation, and I kind of like that.
It's kind of the fun of his champion.
Okay, can I say something really quick though about his decisive strike? It has like a 3-second silence. Oh
yeah,
my god,
kind of annoying.
It's pretty good.
That hurts. And it's a speed buff. Speed buff. It gives you increased movement speed. It silences. It does truck-like damage at level 1. It's like, wow, okay. And he's an amazing ganker because of it. He just runs up and he's like, bam, no flash for you. And then if you have Malzahar or other silencers, you can just perma-silence. I've had games where I've played against
silence.
What I forgot that the silence duration doesn't scale with each additional rank.
it's
a
flat.
flat 2.5, which is sort of interesting.
That hurts,
wow,
man.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, even just that small silence is actually great utility.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've played a game where I played against a Garen, Malzahar, and a Fiddlesticks. And essentially between the 3 of them, the entire team was perma-silenced. There was one of us, there was our tank, who got tagged every single time, and he was silenced for like 6 or 7 seconds, cumulatively. It was ridiculous.
Silences are good.
Into the ground.
Silences are also frustrating. I mean, at least in the stun, you can't actually run around.
Yeah,
like,
it's like you're a
actually
chicken
kinda
with
like
its
that
head
better.
cut off running around when you're silenced.
It's so bad.
Okay, let's move on to Lee Sin. He is also somebody I've personally seen banned a lot in low ranked, and I personally don't understand it. Is he too tough and can do too much damage right now? I think he's in a good spot.
I want to pass that
personally.
over to you.
But yeah, I don't play Lee Sin. I think he's a lot of fun. I would like to pick him up when I have an FIP, but I would like to hear what you guys have to say about it.
So I'm gonna let Zeno
do you mind
talk
if I start
about...
out?
Yeah, and then I want if we could do like a comparison between early Lee Sin before the patch notes and then how he is currently.
Okay, Zenel, all you.
Really quickly, just as far as patch notes, like his most recent set of nerfs were like incredibly small and hardly did anything. But before, like on his release, yeah, we'll get to his release and how he was changed with the patches just afterward. Anyway, what makes Lee Sin really strong, the thing about Lee Sin is he has a strong early game because of his Q. It does percent damage. That's always going to be good. Because of its percent damage is also going to scale well into the late game. Plus, he has really good scaling on a lot of his abilities. His ultimate is a pretty damn strong nuke and has a lot of utility. He has a lot of movement between his Q and his W. Utility more utility from his W. His E hits really hard. It's like another. You can like I've seen people talk about using his Q, and because of how the percent damage that it does, like on. You can use his Q to steal things like Dragon and Baron because of the percent damage, the execute style of it. It's like, okay, you don't have a smite, okay, Lee Sin can just Q Baron and steal it with his Q. Yeah, between early game damage and scaling well into the late game, he is just a really strong character. I mean, he can gank at level 3, even level 2 if you take his E and his Q. He has a slow, you run in, you slow him, and then if they like try to flash away, you hit him with your Q and you dash back in and do a bunch of damage. He has just a lot of stuff going for him.
And his auto attack, his passive flurry is really underrated in terms of passive.
Yeah, definitely. It's strong. And works really well with his kit. Actually, his design I think is really cool.
So the way that Lee Sin's passive flurry works is after Lee Sin uses an ability, his next 2 auto attacks within 3 seconds gain 50% attack speed and return 15 energy each, meaning that if you can space out those abilities in longer drawn-out fights, you don't have to worry about having enough energy. You do tons of damage because your auto attack is fast. He's just a really good champion over. I love Lee Sin personally.
Yeah.
I don't technically know
all about him. Anything else?
Oh, just as far as like banning him is concerned, he's really strong from the jungle, and so I can definitely understand why he's banned. I don't know if he's really OP. Like, he might need like some small, like maybe damage tweaks, like maybe on his Q, to make it so it's not quite as crazy. It is kind of crazy. But other than that, I think it's just he can be kind of scary when seen from the jungle, and people just probably don't like seeing him. It's like Fiddlesticks. You see Fiddlesticks banned sometimes. Fiddlesticks can do some pretty absurd amounts of damage. I think Lee Sin has stronger ganks, though, personally. I think Fiddlesticks is stronger mid game. Lee Sin he just has a strong early game, mid game, late game. He's just a really strong character.
Okay, let's take a look at one last champion for champion rundown, then we're gonna move on, and that is Soraka. I think she's doing too much damage right now. That's just
I
me
agree.
Personally. She is right now, with all purposes, she is a bruiser in my opinion, who can silence, who can heal, and who can AoE without even having vision on you. What do you guys think about it?
Okay, the thing that makes her a bruiser is her heal gives you like 140 armor on top of giving you health back.
Yeah, it's an amazing amount of armor now.
It's crazy. It's like
bonkers.
She becomes a tank. Okay, I don't know about you guys, but her star call hits all targets, and it's like it doesn't differentiate at all. It just hits all targets near her. You don't even have to target a single person.
Yeah.
And I've played against carry Sorakas who build AP, and then build a little bit of armor and cooldown reduction. If she starts hitting you with that star call, I mean, it's not going to be like Fiddlesticks Drain where it's really huge damage up front, but over a course of like a couple seconds, it does so much damage and it's so consistent. And with that much AP, her heal is huge. It's bonkers.
Well, I think more even than her heal, it's like her heal is it'll be decent size definitely, but like her ultimate gets huge. I've seen Soraka's like, with some AP, just he go from like 25% health to almost full because of her ultimate.
Yeah, and Riot went out on the support, I'll say support nerf, even though it wasn't a nerf, it was just a rework. They said that they don't want that kind of healing going on. Why did they leave Soraka with so much healing and yet give her so much damage when I don't think she needs it?
I think, well, it was more that it was a sustained nerf. It wasn't so much a healing nerf. I think they lengthened cooldowns, reduced scaling on the heals that are not ultimates. And then they sort of reworked Soraka in particular to be kind of more like a battle mage, have that option. Soraka had really received the most benefit out of the whole support rework.
Yeah, because we get other supports
into
in
a
there.
whole new character
Taric,
potentially.
Sona, and they go into a fight and they basically will just auto attack. Maybe Taric will get a stun off, Sona will pull her ultimate into the fight, and that's all great. But Soraka's the only one that can go into a team fight and do damage. She can be in there constantly AoEing people down. Alright, go ahead.
So really quick, I didn't know this about Starcall, I just found this out. Soraka reduces magic resistance when she hits you with Starcall.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, and she can stack up to 10 times. At max level, she can reduce your magic resistance by 120.
Yes, so basically what we have said before is if Sona and Taric start stealing kills from the carries, that is bad because they're not going to be able to do anything in the late game. Soraka, on the other hand, she can hold her own if she's stealing kills.
Actually, I've been playing a little bit of support recently, and I think it's actually sort of an interesting place. I was just thinking about, like, as far as just more supporting stuff, Sona is, or Soraka, I think, she doesn't have any hard CC. You know, Sona has her ult, you know, can stun multiple targets. Taric has his stun, great, you know, early game. Great in team fights, etc. Janna has pop-up and her pushback. They each bring sort of a form of hard CC and some other utility stuff going on. Soraka doesn't have that hard CC. She has a silence and some debuffing, magic resist debuffing. Other than that, I can kind of see why they might want her to have a bit more damage. You know, or, you know, and then her ultimate, you know,
to make up for the lack of CC?
Yeah, to make up for the lack of hard CC, yeah.
Okay, well that's quite interesting. So, would we like to see more supports coming out? I personally do think that they either need to rework some of the APs to have some more support uses, or they need to start releasing more supports. Zillion, I would not count really as a support as much anymore, because he doesn't really, you know, his ultimate.
He's a carry support. You play him mid, and he has a great early game, and then late game he actually kind of turns more to support because of his speed buff and his speed buff / debuff and his ultimate.
But he's not going to be warding and stuff.
No, he's not a 0 CS support, and that's exactly. I agree. I would like to see more 0 CS support characters made. Right now there's like maybe 5. There's like Sona, Soraka, Taric, Alistar.
Karma?
Janna,
okay, not
Karma. Is more of like she's more of a carry support as well. Karma's really fun, but she's definitely not a 0 CS support. I mean, she can be played there's other people that can be played 0 CS support, but there's really like 5 mainstays.
Yeah, what about Leona?
I would like to see more.
How is Leona at? We don't
She has 3 stuns.
I'm thinking about picking her up.
I've played Leona, dude. Her stun combo at level 6 is ridiculous. You get stunned for like 4 or 5 seconds. She has her sword initiation, she has her auto attack, and then she's got her ultimate, which does decent amounts of damage. It can slow on the outer rim and then stuns mid rim. And then her shield increase makes her really tanky and also does good AoE magic damage.
I think Leona's sort of like the next closest thing to a 0 CS support. I think she's definitely like good at it. I think her biggest detriment is that her stun needs to be kind of used in a combo, in which case you're blowing like all over cooldowns on one, you know, enemy character, maybe 2 or 3 if you're lucky and get a lucky ult off, you know, and hit multiple of them with the stun, and then she's just sort of sitting around for more cooldowns. And if she could actually like space out, you know, or something, like her CC a bit more easily, and hit multiple targets, she could really control a battle. But right now it's really sort of combo oriented, which disappoints me for another reason. That's her passive. Like, her passive is good, but it's just like, it doesn't, you know, you want to combo her spells together, and her passive is like not getting any benefit from that. Your passive says you space out your spells. I don't know. I think she needs a little bit work still.
Okay, I think that that's really good. I think we can close champion rundown. Anybody need a break at all?
I'm gonna go run and get a water.
Okay, I'm gonna stop this recording, make sure everything's coming out fine then. Okay.
Cool.
Actually, I think we were really lucky that Andrew and I were playing 2 of the champions that they're reworking.
This is an archive of Juked from IGPTV.com. Normally music would be played during the live show at this time. If you want to hear the music, check in at IGPTV website or the YouTube page for dates and times of our live shows. Furthermore, if you have questions for the cast of Juked, email in at Innergeekproductions@hotmail.com with the subject line Juked. If you want free advertisement for your guild or gaming clan, email us in with the subject line Guild or Clan ad. Now, back for more Juked.
Yep.
Okay, so now we're going to go straight into what we call champion construction. Champion construction. So this is the section where we're going to talk about maybe if we have new ideas for a champion, new items, or new maps, etc., etc. My idea that I thought of just now was actually an hourglass type character, but for an AD champion. Because the hourglass, it's really good for an AP champion, because if they get in a spot that they don't want to be in, like a team fight, they can pop it, and basically they have to stop focusing you for a second.
It also gives you armor.
But I mostly only... Yeah, and it also gives you armor. And I mostly use it right now because Karthus is very powerful right now to get away from that, you know, the team fight just finished, Karthus just respawned, and we're all being back to base, and we all have like 3 health left. Then his ultimate comes. And being able to pop that hourglass, I think, is really nice. But I would like to see one for AD champion, just for that bit of situational items. Is that a good idea or a bad idea?
Oh,
I think question. For bruisers that were melee, it's kind of hard because it would make them even bruisery. But if it was like carry specific, I would love it. It'd be called like Zonia's Dragon Scale Shield or something. Carry out hourglass.
Zonia's umbrella. You put an umbrella above your head.
Yes,
all comes down.
I love it.
The good point about it being, I definitely want it to be focused on carries, and so I think having much AD at all would be a bad thing. I think you'd really want to like put like say crit, maybe attack speed on it, those types of stats that are more focused towards carries.
Yeah, I could see a crit.
And
there's not a
armor.
ton of crit items that are used
resist.
other than Infinity Edge.
And
well, I guess
Phantom
Phantom Dancers,
yeah.
that's a pretty high crit item.
Well, you also
and
get a little bit of
Ghostblade.
armor.
Okay, this is quickly getting out of hand.
Okay, so it would be like attack speed, crit, and armor.
Having a Zonia's item for carries would be interesting, but I'm not really sure if they necessarily need it. Just the role that they're supposed to be playing of behind all their teammates and auto-attacking, and then if you're having trouble, there's always the Banshee's Veil to absorb that, hopefully, that initial CC.
Trash that idea.
Moving on.
Okay.
Oh, I got one.
Moving on?
I got one.
Okay.
Rabadon's Longsword.
AD caster item is the idea, I think, right? So aimed at characters like Pantheon and Talon and Garen, I guess, those kind of characters. Riven, yeah, another good example.
Riven needs
This has
some
been
love.
brought up a lot on the forums. There's been a few Riot posts talking a little bit about it. I recently saw one, however, like in the last just couple of days, where apparently there is an AD caster item currently in testing, and the red response was that it's looking really good. So with any luck, we'll be seeing it soon. I'm really looking forward to that.
What was the
So
original
that would be
one
like a pickaxe and a BF sword. Because those two basically cost the same amount as a needle-through large rod and blasting one.
The original one that was kind of like, it was like not spoiled, but like mentioned on, I think it was Morello's Twitter or something. It was called, they called it the BFF sword. You know, it was built from the Brutalizer and a BF sword. The initial version was like way OP. It had like a ridiculous amount of AD. It had like 20. It increases your total AD by like 25%. A huge chunk of like cooldown reduction, armor pen. It was crazy. But something along those
It was
lines
like
would be
wrapping
really cool.
up an entire carry's build into one weapon. It was like instead of taking 6 slots, it takes
That
up
was
1.
stackable.
I think their biggest
that'd be
worry
awesome.
about I think their biggest
So the
worry
brutalizer does need some love right now.
Yeah,
though,
well,
'cause you can't. You only build it into something.
Yeah, having another build path for the brutalizer
Yeah.
would be nice for AD casters.
I
But
think
I
Riot's
love
biggest worry about
Youmuu's.
Youmuu's is great, but it's not great for an AD caster. It's more great for like a Master Yi or some other
Nocturne.
carry, maybe Nocturne. Yeah. I would love to see this AD caster item being built from the brutalizer though, because it's already sort of catering towards that direction. I think Riot's biggest worry about the AD caster item is they want it to be focused on AD casters. They don't want it to be like another build option for the AD carries. So we'll see how creative they get. That'll be. I kind of hope it has some spell vamp actually, because AD casters would like some spell vamp.
And my next item that I thought of, it would be an expensive item that you can pop to give you a vision of invisible champions and items. So I'm thinking of something expensive to the point of an Infinity Edge, that your support will basically save up the entire match to get.
Oh, that's so
and
hard,
you can
dude.
pop it like, and you can pop it like a Ghost Blade to be able to see stuff in a very limited range around you.
You know what? Zenel and I had a discussion about this. Actually, Zenel, Keen, and I did, how we wanted a support version of the Wriggler's Lantern.
Yeah, I personally, I'd still love
I
to
think
see
it'd be
that.
cool if it got built. Like, what happens
That
if they
drops the
made
pink
it?
ward.
Yeah, that drops.
That
the
might be a
word.
little bit too powerful, but it would be kind of
Actually,
cool.
That would be interesting.
See, but what I'd like though is that if they're gonna make one of those items, make it so it's built out of, like, say, a Philo Stone. So there's some other path options with the Philo Stone other than just Shiralia's Reverie that does more for support and actually gives them a reason to build it, other than the gold provides.
Actually, Shiralia's Reverie is a pretty decent support item. Honestly, I'd love it to be built out of, like, say, the Kage's Lucky Pick. That's a decent item for support, but if you had like a good build path for it for support, like a support Wriggles Lantern, where you can place wards, that would be, personally, I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, I think
would be
it
really
would
cool.
be nice for them to come out with some more support items, and then I would also kind of like if them
Support items
get rid of,
that can do stuff.
the Oracle
Yeah.
Elixir. I think it would be nice for them to get rid of that, actually.
But aren't
Yeah.
they gonna
Once
get rid of it
Metagame,
eventually, though?
Once the stealth rework actually goes live, I think they've talked about removing the
Yeah.
Oracle's Elixir. At least the current version of it. Maybe they'll end up doing a Dominion version where it's temporary. I don't know.
Because with the Oracle Elixir right now, if your team is already kind of on the winning side and you're snowballing, the Oracle Elixir is just going to help you snowball harder, because if
Yeah.
your team's not dying, you can just keep that Oracles on and keep denying the enemy team their wards.
And then the losing team can't really afford their own because they're losing.
Maybe their Sona should have supported better.
Oh, Sona! Okay, any other ideas for items, champions, or maps?
Caitlyn's Death Dagger. Or Katarina's Death Dagger.
Okay.
I don't
Unique
really have
item
any
only
champions
buildable for
ideas,
Katarina.
but-
It makes
It's
her
concerning
playable again.
items.
That's its card. That's the fact. It makes her playable.
Concerning
Yeah, there's-
items, I would sort of like the Hextech revolver that builds into the Will of the Ancients. Will of the Ancients is actually a pretty sweet item, but it's definitely more supporty. Personally, I'd kind of like to see a selfish version of it, where Hextech revolver builds into some other like high AP spell vamp item.
There
But I don't
was.
know.
Wasn't
That's
there
kind of minor.
Was it called the Hextech Bazooka?
They've talked about it a little bit, yeah. But that was like their code name or something. I have no idea if it's in development at all. But
Okay,
would
would you
kinda
guys
like to see
love
that
it
too.
if they made a Sona and she was carrying around a Hextech Bazooka, but it has like an actual three-dimensional model to it? And so you see this little girl with like an undercarriage attached to the bottom of her like instrument is like a giant cannon. Nice.
I'm thinking about that. and I can't say I don't like it.
How about
All
skins?
right, so
Okay. Skins? Oh yeah, we could talk about skins also. There we go. I didn't even think about skins. We were talking. Okay, we were talking. Jack Skellington Fiddlesticks.
Do it.
Sally the Ragdoll Oriana.
Do it.
What else was it?
Heimerdinger. What was he? He was Doctor.
Heimerdinger was Dr. Finkelstein.
Yes. Love it.
Malachite could be the Hanging Man tree. So. Riot everything Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh, it's
Get
genius! Oh, I love it.
Swain, because Swain is like the head of Noxus, he could be the mayor. So when he turns into bird form, his head turns around.
Well, no. What happened to
they
give Warwick the Zero skin? So he was like a see-through like ghost dog. But he's a werewolf.
Well, there's already a werewolf. No, Fiddlesticks was gonna throw zeros. Remember?
Oh, that's right, he was. I forgot about that.
Riot, get on that.
Do it now.
And when we get to stories, I have a little bit to talk about.
They need to make an
subject.
Edward skin for Vladimir, and he sparkles. I literally.
Oh God.
No, they don't. I will uninstall if
That would
they
be
put that
so
in.
funny. It would be so
Yeah, and then Warwick gets the other dude's skin that's a werewolf.
Gosh, what's his name? Jacob.
But he gets like ripped abs. He like really ripped abs. And he doesn't wear shirts ever. That'd be awesome.
Wow.
All right, transitioning to maps.
well, no, I was gonna ask.
Yo, let's transition to maps.
Oh, I was gonna ask what champions do you think need skins? Because we really
There's
haven't
quite a
talked
few
about
champions, like old
yeah.
champions that only have 2 skins. Which is
Right?
pretty much those guys.
Yeah,
I mean,
Urgot-
Urgot's a good
Urgot
example.
needs some new skins.
Cassiopeia.
I don't really quite understand
She's a
how
little
Riot-
bit newer, I
really
think, but yeah,
needs
kinda.
a new one.
They just seem to put out whatever skin they feel like for whatever.
Swain.
champion.
Swain needs a skin.
Swain needs a skin.
Swain needs one
There needs
badly.
to-
the mayor skin.
There
Get
needs to
on
be a
that.
tropical
Is
Swain
Release
skin
date
where he
champions
turns
that
into
still
a
haven't
giant.
had new skins?
Yeah, I think so.
That's
Turns into a
ridiculous.
Yes.
Turns into a parrot. Or turns into a toucan.
But he walks around like in shorts and like
Toucan Sam.
those Hawaiian shirts, and then he transforms into a toucan.
Okay. Udyr looks like he needs some new skins.
He needs
Yeah.
man bear
And
pig.
They all look exactly the same.
Man bear pig.
Yes, he
Do
does.
it. Or they need to do animal themes.
Trundle came out about a year ago, I want to say.
Yeah,
so I think
he's
he's
a little
fine
bit more
skin-wise.
recent.
Do you do a frost troll
Yeah,
for him?
let's
That'd be
see.
sweet.
Actually,
Go on with the Frost
Lee
theme.
Sin is more recent, but personally, I don't like his skins.
What?
You can argue a few with that if you want, but
I like his
whoa.
long hair one. I think that's pretty
don't talk about Acolyte.
his Justin Bieber skin.
Yeah.
Hey, it's broccoli. Leave him alone. Acolyte skin is the stuff anyway.
Broccoli.
Yeah, you know, like from Naruto, broccoli, but he looks like a bunch of
It
broccoli.
looks like, I don't know how new Karma is. Karma only has 2.
She needs a new skin.
Oh, how old is she? She's a little bit new too.
She's-
She's actually
yeah.
newer than Trundle.
Oh, okay. I'm just going through some of the champions right now, seeing which ones only have 2. Some of them just have so many. Annie, Fiddlesticks. I mean, I feel kind of
Teemo,
funny saying that we need a
Warwick.
Jack Skellington Fiddlesticks when Fiddlesticks just got a new one.
Yeah.
But I'm still sticking by that.
Yeah.
Okay, no, Cho'Gath. Cho'Gath, I think it needs
Yeah.
a new... No, we got Gentleman Cho'Gath,
Well,
so I think
that's
we're fine.
legendary though, so
legendary.
I kind of think that
Legendary
doesn't count.
So we're not going to count it?
How about Ezreal?
Okay.
He only has 3 skins outside of
He has
his,
3.
outside of his
yeah.
striker.
I think he only has.
See, the thing
Oh,
is,
yeah,
but if they're
Striker's
gonna
second
make one,
edition.
they're gonna make like a Final Fantasy one.
What about LeBlanc? He should get a
I
Cloud
should
skin.
give him like a Cloud
LeBlanc.
Strike skin.
Yeah. No, he doesn't have the sword. No, the Cloud Strife shin should go to Riven.
Riven?
No, Tryndamere.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
Tryndamere.
Or
Tryndamere is Cloud.
Tryndamere has enough.
He's
Tryndamere
too
has
buff.
enough.
He's too buff.
Well, no, his character would scale him
See,
down.
okay,
Make him small.
So let's see. The newest champion that got a new skin was Vayne. So that means Oriana is up next. So Sally's skin for Oriana, Riot, get on it.
Do it.
And unnerf her. Yeah, that's what I forgot to do. I forgot in Champion Rundown I had an hour-long rant on why they should unnerf Oriana. So next week.
That's amazing.
All right, new maps.
Next week, it's just
Something
gonna be
to say
yelling.
about new maps.
Maps. Tug of War.
Okay.
Yes.
All right,
Yes.
tug of war. No,
Yes.
With the release of Dominion, that sort of like opened my eyes of like different things that they could actually do. So they could do a lot of interesting things like, okay, what about like a capture the flag map or like an assault like bomb planting map or something, you know, along those lines. I think that'd be interesting to see.
I would
Something more.
I would
MMO
never
based.
play a capture the flag map,
Hey,
but I
Stringo?
think that they will add it eventually.
What you just said gave me a brilliant idea. Let's say that there's like a bomb attached to a giant pulley system that hangs between the two nexuses, right? So the more areas you control, it pulls towards the enemy base.
Oh,
So if you control more
that's
base,
such a great idea.
yeah, and then if you hold it
So
long
it
enough,
is
it blows
technically
up.
tug of war.
Yes, you tug of war, but area control.
Okay, Riot, get on it. Riot, we give you this for free. Just put in the Jack Skellington skin. And put that with the conversation.
I love it. But yeah, it'd be like tug of war, where you try to control areas, and the bomb moves closer to the opposing nexus the more areas you control.
Wait, wouldn't that be
Crazy.
kind of just like Dominion?
What if they
Except
had?
you have bombs instead of Nexus health?
What if
It
they
would
had
last
one...
longer, though.
The only way I can think of to describe it is like Oddball from Halo, is where you have like kind of an item that you can make.
Actually, I'd kind of like that. I loved Oddball in Halo. So
Before the
like,
yodel.
yeah,
Yeah,
you know, you like,
Yes!
yeah, and you could, dude, you could totally like have like team comp that way too. You have like a tankier character as like your ball carrier, you know, and then you have like, you know, your assassins and
maybe there could be different
all sorts of other
strategies of
stuff.
who you want to be the item
Yeah.
carrier.
You could run a
Like, it could be
tank
your
and then
tank,
How would
but
you
your
throw
tank could
it,
also
though?
just like
it could be a
do his tanky
Shaco.
stuff.
Shaco's so
Or,
slippery.
like, yeah. Or your
Oh,
support
but
or
but
something.
while carrying the oddball, you can't go invisible. That'd be nice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
stealth
that
be
would
too
have
powerful.
to be there because
Well, I mean, they're-
that'd be really stupid.
Invisibles, specifically Akali's Shroud. Like, once they do the stealth rework, like stealth is going to be a little bit different, so you know it might work then. But
Also,
Actually, getting the
Vladimir's
ball
pull
too,
should be
like, the
disabled
tanky DPS
while
would
he's
be
carrying
work-
it.
Would probably work.
really, I don't necessarily think
Really?
so.
I don't know. His pull doesn't last that long.
I don't know. That's just me not liking Vladimir's pull. So
Taking a quick step back to skins, Soraka only has 2,
Right.
and she has been in this game
She kind of has
forever.
sucky skins too.
What?
Honestly, I don't like either of her
I,
skins.
Yeah,
I
they're
want to see
terrible.
a messed up like Frankenstein's creation version of Soraka, where she's got like bolts sticking out of her neck, and she's got like a wonky oversized arm, and like a giant medikit on her back, and she kind of hobbles around. And she goes,
Yes,
yes, master.
Actually, you
when she
could
walks around.
totally do like a Chimera like skin for her. Like you literally give her like goat feet, and then you have like a human
She
like
has goat
torso or
feet, dude.
something. No, but you make it like look at like stark comparison, like stitched together.
Oh,
You
Oh,
know,
and
that
then give
kind
her
of a
3
thing.
heads, and one of them breathes fire.
Just for good measure.
Yeah,
Why not?
One of her
Because one head was not enough.
one
Yeah,
head
3
taunts
are
and it
better
shoots
than one.
fire.
Not 1, not 2, but,
But
3 heads. Okay. Back to maps. Any more maps ideas?
yeah. Soraka can be like
Oh.
Cerberus with 3 heads guarding your
a-
carrier.
Guess not.
Map ideas. A 1-lane map. It just has 1 lane. It'd be
Oh,
great for 1
yes.
versus 1. It'd be great for like ARAM and
They
those
should-
sort of
they
like
should just
community
release
custom
the,
games.
The tutorial map.
Yeah, they could do that and not even work too hard on it.
Yeah,
They
like
could
well, like
just be
Keen was just
okay,
saying.
you
Yeah,
guys
the
want
tutorial
it.
custom map.
Here you go, practice.
Oh,
That's-
would you
oh,
be able to
that'd be
recall, or
lovely.
could you only
Why
recall
isn't
when
that
you
made?
died?
That maybe that could be a
That'd
game
be
setting.
interesting.
Honestly, more customizable game settings would be cool too.
Yeah.
Just be like, yeah, because
Yeah,
we like to just, you know,
I want to be able to have a
Just
setting that
piss
allows you
around.
to use same champions on the same team. So you can do like a 5v5 where each team is all one champion.
All
yeah,
singed.
sure.
Everybody singed. Do it. And
Oh,
then
my
poison
God.
cloud
Sticks, and
becomes
they have the
so
ult
thick
at the
you
same
can't
time.
see.
oh yes, all singed. Oh, I love it.
And then all the poison clouds will build
What
up so no one
happens
can
if-
see what's going on, and then there's
All
everyone floating
singed,
around
all
everywhere.
mid.
Oh, you can
Yes!
put all Nocturnes and not simultaneously, but one after another. Pop Nocturne's ulti, so like at full
It cancels
duration.
each other out.
Well,
It's
no.
just
Basically,
ridiculous.
you don't necessarily use the dash part of it. You just pop his ulti, so it like blacks the whole map, and then once that goes away, the next guy pops his that blacks
Oh,
the whole map.
gosh.
So there's like 20 seconds where the enemies can't see anything.
Can you imagine a bunch of brands just throwing their ultimates?
Oh my god.
Oh lord.
or Talon ults.
It's like what?
You have 5
Yeah,
Talon.
Talon ults would also be.
Oh my
Well, no.
Oh, Fiddlesticks would be so OP. You just like fear everybody. They
Fiddlesticks
all
would be
they all ult
hilarious.
in and they fear like every single enemy team member, and then like they all drain a different member. That's
Which is
just
okay.
a good game right there.
So 5 Talons. 5 Talons. Okay. They hit Ghosts. They hit Yomus. They disappear and they run to the other side of the enemy team, and all of their blades come running through you like a whirlwind.
It's like those animes where they like run past each other, then they just like stand there, and then one of them just slowly falls over.
Yeah.
Yes. Or better yet, Mordekaiser. Mordekaiser would make it a 10v5 game if you killed all 5 of them because of the ghosts.
No, just like 5v5 Mordekaiser teams against Mordekaiser teams. Nobody would ever die.
Or Zillion or Yorick.
You're right.
Oh my gosh, that'd be terrible.
Dude, you could just do Yorick and have like 10v5 from the beginning.
Yeah. I like.
It'll just be Xerath. You're just like bombarding each other from behind the turrets.
Right.
Like, I'm not going out there.
Alright, maybe we should
doing?
move on from this.
Yeah, let's move on to stories. Yeah,
Derail.
we could do this all day. It is time for stories. Yeah, stories. Okay, so anybody have any good stories? I have one.
I do.
From when we were playing together.
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
So, we were playing a Dominion match. It was Keen, Zeno, and myself. I was playing the elusive Monkey King, as usual. And we're looking up at our top lane, which just got assaulted by a huge wave of minions, and then all 5 of their teammates were on our tower. And I kind of rushed in there, hoping to keep them off. What ensued was sheer madness. So first, what's it called? I garrisoned our tower so it regenerated its health and stopped them from capping, but also gave bonus damage. Then I Nimbus Cloud and ulted, so I popped up everybody, like all of their minions, all of their champions, everything. And I just waded into them, and then I almost got melted. I had like 5% health left. And I decoyed out and went into the upper bush and got the health relic, and then the rest of our team swept in and destroyed them.
Yeah, I remember that.
We aced them,
cool.
And we kept the
Wow.
tower. We kept the tower.
We kept the tower, and I was looking at you afterwards like, you're still here? How did you survive that?
I was still fighting. I was in there the whole time.
I know, I was impressed.
It was
And
crazy.
Riot saw them. They're like, okay, we gotta buff that Monkey King. We should have been able to kill them all.
Yeah.
Okay, my story is when Keen was playing Shaco and we were crushing the enemy team because he was ganking about every 2 seconds from jungle lane. And when we got to mid to late game and we started team fighting, Keen insisted on pushing top instead of being in the team fights because Shaco could not team fight apparently. And then after we got aced 3 times, we got caught out of position by the enemy team, but we were all roaming together and at the enemy blue, and Shaco just happened to be there. And we aced them without any of us dying, and Shaco getting the triple kill. And I'd like to point out that you went 17-3-11 that match.
I like how you remembered.
I like how Shaco's
looked
supposed
it
to be
up.
bad at team fights, but it's like, wait, Fed Shaco's just kill people. It doesn't matter if it's a team fight or not. And he was a Fed
Just
Shaco.
run in and just, what?
Okay, this is a really old story from before we all met Stringo.
Oh gosh.
So, I was
A
playing
happier
Evelyn for
time.
the first time, and we got mostly ace except for me, and everyone came back.
And this is before the Evelyn nerf, guys, just to make that
This is
clear.
before the Evelyn nerf. So,
Oh, so when she was playable.
when she was playable.
Yeah.
So, they're at Baron, and we're freaking out. What are we going to do? I'm like, I'm going to go jack their Baron. So I stealth, and I run up behind them and sit in the back corner behind Baron for like 15 seconds, and when it gets low enough, I just run in there and start spamming my Q, and I took Baron, and then the rest of our team came in, and we destroyed them. It was so funny.
Yes.
I ninja'd it. I wish we had LoL replay for that one,
Yeah.
gentlemen. That would have been fantastic. Oh yeah, I pentakilled once with
How about
MF.
Riot makes their own replay?
I pentakilled.
Oh, I forget. Yeah, that was a good one.
I didn't even say pentakill. I was like, I killed 4
He's
people.
like,
You're
I
right, it
pentakilled!
It was like no announcer. It's like, oh, come on.
And then in the box, it's like pentakill. I'm like, oh, good job, me. Just pat him back.
I pentakilled once with Karthus, and I ulted, but it was a bot match, so it doesn't count.
Yeah. I know. My only pentakill was like a Master Yi bot match. It was actually really funny. I was playing on a Smurf account, low level, and like I was playing with like 3 people. It was like their very first game, and they had no idea what they were doing. I felt so bad for them, and they eventually just like all quit. It was like, oh. And then like me and this Lux, me on Master Yi, and then this Lux. I mean, it was versus the AI, so yeah, against bots, right? But like even then, 2v5, that was kind of difficult. Luckily, Master Yi can carry hella hard. I ended up picking up a pentakill with Master Yi down at like bottom tower. But yeah, pentakills are few and far between. Good luck, guys.
In that in the same game that Keen just destroyed that team fight, just for clarification, I saved Zeno
So back
with
at
a
Shaco.
Janna shield.
What?
With a Janna shield.
Oh, was that from an Ignite or something? What was that? Yeah.
That was from, I don't know what it's from, dude. I also, okay, don't ever do this, viewers, listeners, whatever. I flashed into the middle of their group as Janna, and I ulted, and the only reason I survived that whatsoever was from my Q and a really good team. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
That can be a good strategy if you use it just right, but it's tricky. Janna's difficult.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to the mailbox, my good friends. So, send in your questions, comments, anything to Innergeekproductions@hotmail.com. It'll be down in the description. Because we don't have any mail-in this week, I went on to the League of Legends forums into the Summoner's Rift section, and we can just answer some questions. I have 2 here. The first one is from Katy Perry. Yes, Katy Perry.
I didn't know she played League of Legends. What doesn't she do?
That is KATYPERRI, the informal way of spelling it. I stink at jungling, please help is the title. I have played about 200 games, but I have attempted sorry, it's broken English, but I have attempted to jungle maybe 5 to 6 times. I really want to learn because it seems that having a good jungler and a strong solo top will cause you to win a standard 2/1/2 setup more times than not. The problem is I'm struggling with it big time. Not necessarily in order of clearing or the success of it. I do pretty well with that part, but when it comes to ganks, it's basically the question is I can't gank. I can clear the jungle as Fiddlesticks fairly well, but I don't understand the concepts of ganking. What would be the general way for us to tell somebody, as professional as we are, as amazing gurus we are, how do we think that you should gank?
With which champion?
And
I think it comes
Damaga,
down.
I'm going to shoot this at you.
I think it comes down to
He's saying Fiddlesticks.
Oh, Fiddlesticks is a tough...
As Fiddlesticks if you're not 6. So if you're doing a level 4
level
gank.
4 gank, yeah. So you have 2 ranks in
yeah,
your fear, you have 1 in your silence, and 1 in your... Two ranks to your drain, 1 in your fear, 1 in your silence.
I'm not gonna lie, man.
Yeah.
That's really difficult to do if you cannot get that level 6
Yeah,
gank.
Fiddlesticks is pretty
a bit
freaking hard to...
Under that circumstance,
Yeah.
it's very situational, but the way that I would suggest doing it is letting your top lane or bottom lane, let them push into your tower. So you can come up around through bushes or something, and then fear one of them, and then silence, and then drain, so you can get at them as fast as possible. But they have to be
the biggest thing
really
with
far
ganking
in the lane.
Fiddlesticks is put yourself in their retreat path. So if essentially you want them to be in between you and your defensive tower in your nearest tower, so they when you come in and fear them and then drain them, they have to run all the way through you and then farther and then keep going, so you have the longest duration of your drain going as possible. You want to keep it tethered on them for the full duration.
Which is why I suggest being at your tower or somewhere pushed up really far.
Yeah, closer to your tower, definitely. You want them to be between like the midway and your tower if at all possible.
If you're having problems jungling Fiddlesticks, and he might not be the character for you for jungling, because he is quite hard to get used to, keep in mind, Amumu, Nunu, and Master Yi, there can all be junglers, and their ganks can be a bit stronger. So for newer players out there who are lower on IP, I would recommend picking up Amumu at least, just because he generally doesn't. Generally, you'll be playing normal matches, and his ganks are very strong with his toss.
Definitely.
That
He
would
also
be
has
my
an easier
recommendation.
jungle, which is nice. As far as his ganks are concerned, I just want to recommend to people using your gap closers as late as possible. If you can just run in and then start attacking them, wait for them to maybe flash away or run away, you know, if they slip away from you, and then use your gap closer,
Yes,
like
then
Amumu's
bandage.
bandage toss, to reclose the distance. You know, and then the stun, especially on Amumu's bandage toss, might allow that the person that's laning there to catch back up as well.
Another champion that people with low IP can use, or in that circumstance, that's also really good is Xin Zhao. He's a similar situation, but again, you want to save his audacious charge for secondary gap closer, because a lot of times in my experience when I was first playing that champion, and using gap closers right away is, if they flash out or they ghost or do anything to CC you off of them, you've just wasted spells and time, and it's really difficult.
For the same IP as Xin Zhao, there's also Udyr, who I kind of mostly learned how to jungle from.
Udyr,
he has a really easy
Phoenix
jungle,
form Udyr
especially
jungle
if you do Phoenix form.
is definitely good.
Yeah,
Gankings are quite strong.
I'm picking up Udyr
Stun,
as soon as I have
form,
enough
quick
IP.
speed.
So.
Yeah, similar. I'm gonna be picking him up fairly soon as well.
And his stance dancing.
When you play Udyr though.
Yeah, his stance dancing might be a little weird, but like I don't think it's that bad to get used to.
No, Udyr's a really, really solid jungler. His jungle is relatively safe.
A really solid character
quick.
as well.
Yeah.
In general.
Yeah, he gets tanky, man, for like no reason. Drill stance is OP. Broke, son. I have a shield that defends for 200 damage every 5 seconds. And I'm regenerating mana.
Basically, Katy Perry. If you're having too many problems with fiddlesticks, you might want to consider a better early ganker, because I don't think Fiddlesticks is that good of a early ganker.
Yeah,
he's not.
Maybe consider picking up somebody.
Try it at level 4, see what you can get. Maybe try it at level 5, see what you can get, but you're really become a lot more powerful ganker once you get your ultimate. Definitely.
Okay, can I say
so
right
that
now?
is our answer.
Go
for it.
Another really fun jungler, but you kind of we're gonna have to have the motivation to do it and just have to love the character. It's Tryndamere. I think he's really underrated.
Yeah.
He can be really good. Like if you get with him with exhaust and you use your mocking shout, not necessarily on top of each other, but space it out. He has so much CC. His spinning slash gives you tons of gap closers, which is great, and he does like kind of bonker damage.
And once you learn his ultimate, especially in low ELO, people will hate you.
They'll rage.
The last thing about jungling that I want to just let people know about, like 2 things, I guess. One is there's a YouTube channel by Stonewall008. He has tons of jungling
I'll link
content.
it in the description.
Yeah, we can link it in the description, definitely. Tons of jungling content. It's a great place to start out, you know, if you're learning a new jungler or just learning jungle in general. The other thing is on the website, it's solomid.net. There is, under their guide section, under generic guide, there is a guide by The Odd One. It's called, let's see, where is it? General Jungle Guide by The Odd One. It's, I believe it's 2 video guides, or it's a 2-part video guide. And he just goes through like the basics of jungling, and there's a lot of good information there as well.
I'm assuming that Miss Katy Perry here is getting her information from MOBA Fire. Keep in mind, those are generally written by everyday people, a lot like us, but if you do go onto Team Solo Mid and Stonewall, you're going to get the top players giving you their advice.
Make sure that when you go to
So
Solo
keep that
Mid
in mind when you're looking at stuff.
When you go to Solo Mid, make sure you only look at the approved section guides, because anybody can post there. But the approved guides are ones that are done by either, featured or approved, are either by members of Team Solo Mid who are a professional team, or by really high ELO players or other pros, and they help a lot.
Yeah. And then the approved guide is just like it's guides that Team Solomid as recognized as just solid guides. So definitely
Okay.
stick more to the featured and approved guides. You can venture out into the unapproved guides if you're daring.
Daring.
Okay, so we're gonna move on to the next one. This comes in from, it's one of these two names. It's either Churro Keep Pimp or it's Churro Keep Imp. Not sure which one. Hello there, Churro.
I like both.
It says it's called Don't Try Dominion, otherwise you will think Summoner's Rift is boring. Now here's his message. True story. If you love Summoner's Rift, don't go play Dominion, because when you go back to Summoner's Rift, you will truly see how boring and slow place it is. I did this, now Summoner's Rift is totally unplayable. I get bored in Summoner's Rift so quickly now, and realize how dumb PvEing for half the game on a PvP based game is. Okay. Keeping in mind this is this person's opinion, and I'd like to make that clear, even though he did not state it like this. I find it the complete opposite, personally. That might just be because I played Dota, where the games were way more hectic, because like I said before, there's no flash, and the turrets did very little damage, so you could dive, and it would be much more exciting, but it would also make you so cautious. Unlike Summoner's Rift, where it has a very, very slow laning phase, a very passive laning phase, potentially.
That's a bit more relaxed.
Yes, Dominion will get you a bit more of a thrill, but like I said beforehand, you're not going to get the same amount of satisfaction after winning a fight in Dominion as you are in Summoner's Rift, and I don't think we're going to be seeing a meta game of Dominion in as much as Summoner's Rift had. What do you guys say on this?
They already have a meta game. It's called a Collie.
It's called a Collie and tanky DPS.
Yeah, they are the meta game.
Yeah.
No, in all seriousness though, especially if you like have played a bunch of Summoner's Rift and then played Dominion for the first time, I found it really fun. It was such a nice sort of break from Summoner's Rift, but ultimately Summoner's Rift just has so much more intricacy to it and just so much more going on. I really like Summoner's Rift. Dominion is a great place to sort of just like maybe de-stress or just like need a change of pace, what have you. But
doing it by
Summoner's
yourself,
Rift just has
maybe.
So many cool things going for it. The laning phase has this interesting tension going on. Team fights are so important, and ganking is from like the jungler from a different lane is all just, there's this whole dance going on that's just so interesting.
I think that both game types definitely have their place. I feel that Dominion is less team oriented than Summoner's Rift is, which is kind of an attraction because part of winning Summoner's Rift is having a good coherent team. And so for maybe solo queuing it might be a bit easier for those people to go and do Dominion. But at the same time, Summoner's Rift is always going to have a place in my heart because that's where I grew up on League of Legends. That's where I came from. It's what I played. I am a jungler at heart. I tried jungling. I got lost in the jungle. It's where I belong. It's where I am. And Dominion doesn't offer that to me. So at the end of the day, both of them are great.
There is no jungle in Dominion.
No, it makes me sad.
What if they make... Oh, okay. They need to make just for a champion construction, a map that's only jungling.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, actually, that'd be quite interesting. So basically, I'm assuming that Churro is talking from a solo thing, and I'd like to just finish up this mail by mentioning you're gonna get a lot more rewarding playing from Dota-style games, especially League of Legends, with a fixed team. So I definitely recommend you go out, look for a clan, find some friends. They're not hard to get. Just go to the high school and
slip some dudes some money.
Go to the universities. Yeah, just give them some monies and say, hey, will you come play with me? And
I'll pay you in cash.
Okay, this is going downhill quite fast. Ooh, League of Legends and gummy bears. That sounds fantastic. So yes. So, okay, I think we'll close up that mail, and that will be all for Juked for today. So now we're going to go to our final segment, which is shoutouts. Anybody have any shoutouts? We don't really have a huge fan base right now, so I would like to do just at least one shoutout to Pigmaster. He is probably the biggest fan of our channel, at least right now. He sent me some replays to cast, which are up on the Innergeekproductions channel. And we played a game with him last night. We lost all the games. But that was not to his fault. That was
no, not at all. He played great.
That was more to our fault.
Bad plays, gentlemen, it happened.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
sort of fighting a cold, and I know my play has suffered because of it. Not to, excuse myself, but I was definitely not playing full.
Weak excuse.
Grog just mid. Any other shoutouts or ending remarks?
Not specific shoutouts, but just hopefully all the viewers or listeners or what have you that are checking this out. Hope you enjoyed it. We've had a lot of fun doing this.
All the 7 of you. See you guys next week.
This is Trundle signing off.
Welcome back from Inside the Rift. We hope you enjoyed yourself and that you learned something. Remember to email us at innergeekproductions@hotmail.com with your questions with the tagline Juked. If you are viewing this on our YouTube channel, please thumbs up this video, comment, and subscribe to this channel for more insanity. You can get the MP3 of this show from our website igptv.com and soon from iTunes. Remember to send us in your replays to be casted at innergeekproductions@hotmail.com. See you next week on Juked.